She is a digital marketing specialist who can spin the meanest website around.
And he's host of the TV show Buzz, which features nonprofit organizations receiving marketing makeovers.
Here on Buzz for Good, we talk all things nonprofit, the people they serve and the good they do.
And we talk to creative professionals and provide marketing tips and tools to help your nonprofit achieve more.
That's right.
Buzz!
Well, greetings, everybody, and welcome to Buzz for Good. I am Michael Hemphill, creator and host of the TV show Buzz that airs on Blue Ridge PBS, where on each episode we feature the incredible work that nonprofit organizations do in Southwest Virginia, and we provide some marketing tools and tips to help your nonprofit and small business attract more donors, volunteers, and clients to your cause. On today's show, we are going to feature a nonprofit that was born out of incredible tragedy, the 2020 suicide of a Roanoke icon, Lewis Tudor. I'm going to share with you some interviews that I conducted with Lewis's wife, Jessica, and two of the guiding lights of the nonprofit that was created in his honor and memory, Tudor House. I'm also going to feature the marketing agency who we brought in to help Tudor House, Nero Digital Design, owned by Michael Craighead. Later in the show, we are going to share the work of the Council of Community Services, which is busily preparing for the first ever Give Roanoke Day on April the 20th. So mark your calendars for this special day of giving in support of more than 70 nonprofits serving the Roanoke Valley. Now, again, my name is Michael Hemphill. I invite you to stay connected with me and Buzz for Good through our website, buzzforgood.com. That's buzz, B-U-Z-Z, 4, good.com, as well as our social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Buzz for Good. On YouTube, you can see our most recent episode that aired just this past Wednesday night, March 23rd on Blue Ridge PBS, where we highlighted Roanoke Arts Pop and more than 30 nonprofit arts and cultural organizations in the Roanoke Valley participated in that. A fabulous event. We're really proud of the episode and would invite you to take a look at it to see all the incredible, wonderful work that is being done artistically and culturally in our community. Just an incredible, diverse selection of work that was presented that weekend at the Tallman Museum, Roanoke Arts Pop. And really just reminded me what an exceptionally cool place we have here in the Roanoke Valley. So take a look at that. I also want to take a moment to thank our sponsors, Partners in Financial Planning, a Southwest Virginia-based financial management firm owned by Jim Pearman, just a great guy with a huge heart for Southwest Virginia. Partnersinfinancialplanning.com, as well as the wonderful folks at Freedom First Credit Union, who are just so supportive of the nonprofit community in our region, freedomfirst.com. Now, I am flying solo today, always a scary prospect, because I'm without my good friend and co-host today, Carrie Cousins, who is president of the American Advertising Federation of Roanoke, which provides so much of the marketing buzz that we feature on our TV show. She's also the director of marketing at Lead Point Digital. She'll be back with me next week. So for this episode, we're going to lean more on nonprofits and what they do in our community and perhaps less on the marketing. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the show, on July 1st, 2020, Lewis Tudor, former owner of Tudor Biscuit in Roanoke, coach to hundreds and hundreds of youth and adult swimmers throughout the valley, husband, father of 4, he jumped to his death from the top of a Roanoke parking garage near the downtown home that he shared with his wife, Jess. We are currently working on an episode of our TV show Buzz about Tudor House and its partnership with the Virginia Children's Theater to shine a light on adolescent depression and suicide. This episode will air April 13th on Blue Ridge PBS, and we will also be hosting a free watch party at the Grandin Theater that weekend. Doors will open at 6 p.m. At 6:30 p.m., we will feature some performances by the Virginia Children's Theater. Our episode on the collaboration between Virginia Children's Theater and Tudor House will air at 7 p.m., followed by a question and answer discussion with the folks leading Tudor House. For today's show here on WFIR, I am going to share the conversations that I had with three just amazing women who helped create Tudor House. First off is Lewis's wife, Jess Tudor. Next will be founding president of the board, Christy Cundiff. And following that, the founding executive director of Tudor House, Kathleen Thorell. And here are my conversations with them in that order.
My name is Jessica Tudor, and Lewis Tudor was my husband. From the outside, people would know Lewis Tudor as a businessman downtown. We owned a biscuit restaurant for 28 years. We closed in 2012, and after that, he chose to be a swim coach, which was his passion. And he would have done that his whole life. It would have paid the bills. He was a father of four. We were together for 30 years. He coached all of our kids, supported them through all their swim careers, even the ones that chose not to swim in college. Surfing, outdoors, they all like to hike and be outdoorsy people. Just lover of life. He loves to fish. All my kids are going to go fishing next month in his honor. I do not fish. He was just a great man and a great father, a wonderful husband most of the time. Can we say that? He drove us crazy. He had such a zest for life. He woke up at 4 a.m. every morning, ready to go. Like he was happy about everything every day. And he didn't want to waste 1 second of any day for anything. He just wanted to go coach. He wanted to swim. He wanted to work out. He wanted to fish. He wanted to be with his friends. He wanted to be with his family. If you didn't know him, you might have thought he was wild. He had crazy swim hair and drove an orange car, and then he would ask why people notice him. I don't know. He was always a face in Roanoke on the swim. Everybody in the swim community knew him. Everybody at the Y, all the swim clubs, they all knew Lewis Tudor's name. He coached probably every swimmer in Roanoke on some level.
But obviously he was also had some struggles.
The last 2 months he did. When COVID happened, he was very regimented. He liked to get up at 4 a.m., swim, coach again, take a nap, coach, and swim again. That was his life. So when COVID happened, lockdown kind of threw him for a loop. He was getting squirrely, not sleeping, started getting a little paranoid about his friends and life in general. He thought that he thought he had money issues, and he did not. He needed his regimen and being isolated, and the swim people are his community. That was like we call it their swamily, like swimmers and family. He even when swimming started back, we thought that would get him back to normal, but he was spiraling.
And how did that spiraling kind of manifest itself?
Again, not sleeping, being paranoid. His friends were reaching out to him. His family was reaching out to him, but he couldn't hear anything past his fears. We got him in with a doctor, and they put him on medicine, which I think affected him. They tried 5 different medicines at one time. The doctor took him off the medicines, and the next day he was gone.
The next day he was gone. So you mind sharing about that day?
Christy might have to do that one. It was a horrible day. Yeah. Like you want details? Like what happened that morning?
Whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Lewis woke up that morning looking at the computer, and he thought that we were going to go to jail for not paying bills. And I said, Lewis, we have enough money to pay our bills. He's like, no, Jess, you don't understand. And I told him I had to get some sleep. And I went back to sleep. And when I woke up, he was not there. He told me he was going fishing when I texted him. And his GPS said that he was on the river. So I thought he was fishing. And that would be good for him because he loved the outdoors. And he came back and he passed me on the street. And I said, oh, good, he's back. He's safe. I still wasn't worried at that point because I was like, he's home now. I went back to the house. He wasn't there. I called him. He told me he was going to go get something to eat. He did not go. He told me he was going to Jack Brown's, and I told him I'd meet him, and he told me he was going to drive. which I thought was odd because we lived downtown. And my stepson called me worried because he had called him. My stepdaughter called me worried because he had called her. My mom called me worried because he called her as well. And then I got nervous, and I woke my son up and asked him to go help me find his dad. And I was a little worried. I wasn't panicking, but I was worried. And then my stepdaughter called me back and said that he had left her a weird message. So at that point, I decided to go to the police department and get a emergency custody order. And I filled out the paperwork. And 5 minutes later, my son called me screaming.
What was he screaming about?
That my husband jumped from the roof in front of him. And my friend Stephanie was with him too.
What had, how had your son discovered where he was?
My friend Stephanie, while I was filling out the paperwork at the police station, said, let's go back and check the parking garage where we park our cars. And that's where Lewis was for sure last time that I had talked to him, according to the GPS. And so I was filling out the paperwork. They walked back because it's only 3 blocks away. And Stephanie had texted me and said, we found him. But I didn't see the text. I was talking to Lewis's brother. And I was telling him I'm so upset I had to do this because Lewis would be embarrassed that I was going to do that. I was more worried about his ego at that time. I was like, he's going to be so mad at me for doing this, but I don't know what else to do because he's not acting like himself. And as I was going to the elevator, that's when my son called me and told me that he had jumped off the top of the parking garage.
What happened after that?
I ran out screaming. Matt from Texas Tavern, he and Lewis were friends, and he heard me. I screamed at him, and he came over, and he ran around the corner to see, and he came back and started yelling at everybody to call 911. There was a million people around, but I couldn't tell you who. They were all trying to comfort us, but we were just screaming. And then Christy showed up and comforted us, and then Nina came and comforted us. Everybody just came immediately. Family, friends showed up because word spread quickly in Roanoke. And we came back to the apartment after we were done talking to the police, and the house filled with our friends and family.
My name is Christy Cundiff. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I'm the president of the Tudor House Board. Yeah, I can walk you through the day that we lost Lewis from my perspective. So Jessica had called me that morning upset because she had woken up and Lewis was not at the house. There had been months where the family had been rotating, keeping an eye on him at night because they were worried he wasn't getting sleep. And the longer that you lack sleep, the more things can happen as far as hallucinations and things like that. So he usually gets up at 4, as we know, for his swims, and her sleep schedule is automatic to his. I think he somehow got up at 7, which isn't like him. So it just wasn't his normal behavior, and he was gone, and that's not like him, and so she became worried. And as the morning progressed, I was close by and trying to get a couple different things done, and on my way over, and I got a call from one of our other friends, Stephanie, saying that Lewis is gone, that he jumped, and that we lost him, and he's no longer with us. So I rushed over to the house, and Jessica was close by, and they were able to say that I was her counselor. And I thought, why are they telling him I'm her counselor? That's a little bizarre, but it was so that I could get through the police. They weren't letting people get to her because there were so many people that were supportive and worried and surrounding her. So in that moment, we were all a bit hysterical, and because I was the counselor, they gave me permission and our friend Stephanie permission to get Jessica back to the house, and we got back here and we were able to be together, and the rest of her friends and family showed up, and we just went from there.
You're a licensed counselor.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a kind of an understanding of what he may have been going through, what happened that led him to do what he did?
I think it was an interesting perspective on my point, because it put me on the family friend perspective of someone that was having a mental health break and psychosis. It isn't anything that we expected, and he didn't have any diagnosed mental health conditions. He hadn't needed mental health services previously. I feel like when COVID hit, there was a trigger for him. And then the lack of sleep, and then something that hasn't been mentioned is that he had a blood pressure spike, that when they went to the doctor, that it had spiked so high, they said for someone with a normal heart that it could have killed them. But because he was such an amazing athlete, he recovered within a couple days. But we noticed some behaviors that we didn't notice before after that happened as well. And sometimes there's some physical manifestations that we don't understand that happen, and that can trigger things like psychosis or hallucinations or paranoia as well. So we weren't quite sure what had happened or how it started, because it was just a plethora of things that happened at once. But watching the process for someone that, as an adult, trying to manage their mental illness in a world that you're supposed to be responsible for your own health and your own appointments, what we started to notice is that there were a lot of holes in the system, and that sometimes he would forget he had an appointment. So without us seeing that he wasn't calling, and everything was virtual at that time. So a lot of things, I think, were missed for that reason. Sometimes in a mental health around adolescence, we have a team of people that collaborate and talk together. It seemed as though he had a lot of great working pieces, but the pieces weren't connected, and they weren't able to communicate to come up with the best treatment plan in that moment. So his medication management went from a PCP who was, doing their best to manage, because psych referrals take so long to get. So because of the family and friends that Lewis had, he was actually able to get into psych services much quicker than others. But at that time, the idea was to start from scratch with medication management, and rightfully so, but there wasn't any supervision around what that looked like. And when someone is taken off all medications, to be able to figure out what medications work best and what don't, it has its effects. And so that could have been a piece of the puzzle as well. And the virtual appointments, I mean, it was, we were communicating that it was a crisis situation, but then sometimes virtually you present okay and you present like you're doing fine. And oftentimes in counseling sessions, people want to please the person in front of them, so they may not be comfortable or have developed the trust to be able to say what they're truly feeling, because sometimes there's shame and embarrassment connected to mental illness, especially if you don't understand what's happening.
Someone decided we need to do something, we need to create something out of this that's somehow positive.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about just the germination of the idea of Two Rounds?
Yeah, we were all sitting right over here in the kitchen, and we were wanting to create a foundation in the beginning. So Jess's daughter Hannah and several of her friends just immediately started a GoFundMe that blew up, and it was amazing to see the support. And then when we started to reach out to figure out who to give money to, we actually couldn't find anyone in the community that specialized in suicide prevention, education, and support. There were, again, different pieces to the puzzle, but as we talked to people, it was kind of an afterthought of something they would like to do, but there were so many other crisis and interventions that needed to be had that it wasn't the forefront or the main focus of any one nonprofit. So from there, we thought, okay, well, how can we help heal ourselves and heal the community? And I went home and Googled how to start a nonprofit, and I haven't yet been arrested by the IRS. But no worries, we now have a CPA on the board, which we love very much, and I think we are good to go. And we just started brainstorming what that might look like for us. One of the things that have helped the healing process are other people that have said, we know how you feel and we know where you've been, but they've never really had the opportunity to share their stories before because there was shame connected to someone in their family that died by suicide. So our only intention in the beginning was to be able to get something named after someone who had died by suicide, like any other disease, because mental illness is a disease. And to know that there's no shame to be able to talk about that. So we collaborated with Bradley Free Clinic once we found out that they were starting their own behavioral health wing. They have an amazing program called the Hope Initiative that Jessica's always thought was a great program and wanted to be a part of. Our idea was to maybe take that Hope Initiative, because it was around opioid use and getting people connected to treatment, because that's another gap in our community as far as resources, to expand that to also mental health crisis around suicide prevention and intervention and connecting people to the proper care. So they've been amazing partners to work with. We have been able to name the therapy room the Tudor House room, and we are running groups for people that have had suicidal ideations ongoing but aren't in danger of hospitalization. It's just something that they currently have to continue to deal with and live with, which is tiring and often makes you feel like a sense of hopelessness. And then we're also running groups for people that have had someone that they love die by suicide, because it's the healing process is a long process and people need to know that they're not alone.
You said something about that in order for you to heal.
Mm-hmm.
So talk on that.
Yeah, so one of the things I do in my day job is I've had the opportunity to go into school systems when someone has died by suicide and help the school community heal. So I tried to take what I knew from that and how over time I've been able to get feedback on what works and what doesn't work. And it doesn't take a week or a month, it's years, but it's a start. So I thought to myself, how can I take what I've learned from that and help a community heal, not just a school, but myself and my closest friends and the community as a whole. And that was the basis. And then we got so many great opinions and feedback and support, and our board grew so quickly that it just became a very easy decision to establish it and keep it going. We're really starting to focus on, and Tudor House is kind of going in the direction, because we're creating a niche around adolescents for education and prevention. And we are now brainstorming the idea of having an adolescent suicide assessment center, just because of the wait time at the hospital. Just recently we had a friend who had a 36-hour wait time in a small room for an assessment, and unfortunately assessments now are telehealth because they have to contract with people outside of the area. So even when you do get an assessment, it isn't with a human, it's on an iPad. Shane Tudor and Hannah Tudor came up with some ideas about what about a wellness center or something that somewhere someone can go to feel safe and know that they're going to be okay, opposed to an emergency room and just the feel being very different. So if we are able to make that a little bit smaller, because when we first started brainstorming it, it was this huge wellness center. I mean, if someone wants to give that to us, that would be great, where we house therapists and massage therapists and Reiki therapists and yoga practices and an assessment center. So depending on your level of need, you would either maybe take a yoga class because you need to decompress, or if you're higher level than that, please don't insult me by saying, hey, maybe you should take a yoga class and get me the mental health treatment that I need. And that treatment would include an approach that has a team approach with a psychiatrist, a counselor, and even maybe a case manager to be able to check in and make sure that they're able to follow up with their appointments if they don't have the family or community support that they need. The thing that I hope that people remember of Lewis is his smile. He always had an answer for it. Didn't matter what you needed or what your problem was. He would have an answer for you, and he would be 92% right. And he made everyone feel special in their own way, and he could figure that out. The swimmers, one of the things that they would know about Lewis and that he was proud of is he could have 30 people in a pool and know every single stroke that everyone was doing and be able to give feedback at the same time to all of those different swimmers. And I think the swimmers would agree with me. So he was definitely gifted in a lot of ways, but he saw the best in people, even when they didn't see the best in themselves. And so I think he would be proud of what we're doing and the legacy that we're leaving behind.
So my name is Dr. Kathleen Thorell. I'm the Executive Director of Tudor House.
And how did you get a part of Tudor House?
I became a part of Tudor House in the summer of 2020. I was a swimmer with Lewis Tudor. I swam with him for about 5 years in master swimming. And when he took his life, I reached out to his family and some mutual friends that we had. And they knew that I had a counseling degree. And I said, how can I help? And here we are. Tudor House originally was focused on all ages. Suicide prevention, education, and support is important for everyone. But we found that we were struggling a little bit with covering all the things that can entail. So we're excited to have 2022 be the time where we streamline our focus to adolescents, and that's ages 10 to 24. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for people in that age group. So it was important for us to really focus our efforts on that area, especially because we felt like we already were being aligned with that age group from our partnerships with Virginia Children's Theater. We've been working with the Suicide Prevention Council for Youth Mental Health Awareness Month this month and been really involved with that. And we feel like that's where our niche is going to be. So Tudor House is fairly new. We're only about 18 months old, and we were started in the middle of a pandemic. So we have been very grassroots and lots of volunteers. Our board completely volunteers their time. I'm the only paid staff. And so it's been really important for us to continue to be able to market ourselves and to spread the word and to make sure that what we sort of threw together in the beginning stages becomes more and more professional and more helpful to people. So it was really important for us to update our website and so that it showed more about where we're going in our future and what our goals are and how far we've come.
We are going to share more about Tudor House and their collaboration with Virginia Children's Theater in the coming weeks, and in advance of the Blue Ridge PBS broadcast of our Buzz episode, which again will take place on April 13th. That's also the same date and time as our watch party at the Grandin Theater, which is free and open to the public, so please come and be part of that event. But to put a bow on this part of our show, if you will, I am going to share with you a conversation I had with Michael Craighead. Michael Craighead is the president and founder of Nero Digital Design. That's Nero, Nero Digital Design. Nero Digital Design is a full-service digital marketing agency based in Salem, and they really specialize in website creation. And Michael was very generous in donating his time and talent to create a new website for Tudor House. All right. Well, Michael Craighead, president and owner of Nero Digital Design, thank you so much for your willingness to come on to Buzz for Good and chat about the work that you have done helping nonprofits and specifically the Tudor House. Let's start off with, talk a little bit more about your background and your work kind of with Nero Digital Design, how you got it off the ground.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Michael, for having me on the show. And thank you for the opportunity to work with Buzz for Good and the Tudor House. It was a really fun project. Basically, I've always been inspired, by art. I've always had, an artistic talent given to me by God, and I was looking for. I've always looked for a way to express that correctly and to find a way to make a living from that. Went to tech and graduated with a communication design degree. And then right out of college, I got hired by a great agency here in Roanoke, Access. Todd and Tony gave me an opportunity to come on the team. And that was the best experience, I've had in the design field. And I stayed on the team for 7 years, and it just felt like it was time to make the leap and try to do it for myself. So I started Nero Digital Design, and we are.
This was in 2020.
Yep. So July of 2020. During the pandemic. Everybody thought I was crazy to jump off and do this myself, but I felt like I needed to take a leap of faith and try this. And it's God's blessed me, and it's worked out. So we're a design studio. We focus on brand development, web design, and that's how me and you got acquainted with this Tudor House project, was on web design. So
yeah. All right. So once again, it's Nero, Nero for our radio audience. Nero Digital Design, and your website, if they want to reach out to you, is what? NeroDigitalDesign.com. Cool. Based in Salem, but you have clients all over the place. And it's been great to work with you with Tudor House. Talk about where Tudor House's website was when you first got started with the project.
Okay, sure. Yeah. The Tudor House website, just like a lot of nonprofits, it was in a okay place. When you're trying to start up a website, you'll go to services like Wix, and just to get something up quick. But we felt like we need to take them in a better direction. So we decided, with the timeline that we were given, we decided that Squarespace was the best option for them. And we chose Squarespace just because it's a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, easier to navigate and easier to manage. But some of the problems that the Tudor House was running into with the Wix site was just the consistency. And this is one of the bigger problems that, any sort of foundation is going to run into when establishing the brand, setting up their website, is keeping consistency with their brand. And that was one of the things that we wanted to focus on with the Tudor House, was help them to be consistent in their, just things like colors, typography, language, and just an overall presence, through the social media and everything.
So many people or nonprofits, think that, oh, I just want to get a website up there. I'm just going to put all of our information on it. But without realizing that, really websites are the calling card for businesses these days. And that, they're people's first and perhaps only interaction or experience with an organization may just be through their website. And if it doesn't have the accessibility and the aesthetics that you would want, then they may go elsewhere.
Yeah, that's very true. Your website is, in essence, it is, an online building that you operate through. So it's the brick and mortar digitally. So people are gonna come in there, want to see what you do, want to talk to you, and the way your website communicates to them is going to give them that first impression that you were talking about.
Yeah. So you were talking about, so there was the aesthetics, the branding, but I think I also remember you saying that a lot of the photos and imagery on the old website had a lot of text incorporated into the imagery and the photos to explain, to an audience what they might be looking at. But what they don't realize is that, search engines and SEO, search engine optimization from Google and all these places relies on being able to read text on your website. And if it's embedded into a photo, they're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, and it works for the time being. If you're trying to get something set up and you just want to put pictures on the site for people to read, that works. But yeah, like you were saying, the search engines don't pick up on the text that are on that image. So one of the main things that we did was take those images and separate the content out and actually put that on the site. So it's a long game with SEO. They'll start ranking a little better, but more than anything, what I like to tell my clients is, SEO is a very strategic long game, and you can either pay a lot of money into it or not. But one of the most important aspects of a website is the functionality of the website. So I've had many clients that haven't had any SEO, paid into any paid ads, but they're getting more leads just because the way we've set up the site is leading the users to where they need to go. And that's just totally visually and functionally. So it's something that you can do without paying a lot of money into, is think about how your website functions and operates.
Nice. I also believe that you took their resources page, which is, where a lot of people would hopefully go to if they are in crisis, with depression or feeling perhaps even suicidal, to go to the resource page and find out, who can they contact in order to get the help that they need. And their current website or their old website, basically it was all as a PDF or as an image that, you would just kind of scroll through and see all these resources. But you really did something really cool with the new website. Tell us about it.
Yeah, me and Kathleen worked through that page, and we wanted to set up it as an actual resource where users can visit that page and access the numbers, the emails that for those crisis lines, whether they're national or local. But yeah, that was the biggest problem on that page with their previous site was it was just basically as a PDF. So you'd have to read, and then say you're on a phone, you'd have to zoom in and read the number and put it in your phone. Well, now it's simply, you see the crisis line that you want to reach out to, you click on it and you're there.
Yeah, it's just a one tap and you're instantly in communication with that resource, rather than trying to have to memorize it, then go out to your phone app and then type it in. And if you're in crisis, you're probably not thinking all that clearly anyway, and just need to get the help as readily as you can.
Yeah, you want something as quick as possible with that, and we've done that with this page.
Excellent. And then also the other calls to action with the new site.
Yep, that's one of the most important things with any website in general is just having clear and concise call to actions. And this goes back to the branding. Want to make sure the colors are consistent. But with the Tudor House and their logo, they have some nice bright colors in it, some happy colors. So we made those call to actions orange, and that stands out really nicely on either a white background or even a dark background. So
Okay. So, and then their website, tudorhouse.net, TUDORHOUSE.net. I believe the website is still being, or your new website is still being incorporated with the domain name. So it maybe by the time people are listening to this show, it still may not have actually appeared. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's one of the hiccups and sort of things that we have to navigate with the web is, if your domain is owned by a certain service, it can take some while for them to release that to where you want to go. So we're going from Wix to Squarespace, and they have to go through all the admin process there and release it to us.
Anything else that you feel as though people, who are listening to this and are looking for some help with their websites, anything else that you would recommend to them, based on your experience with Tudor House?
Yeah, Squarespace is a great platform. If you want to get something up fairly easily and fairly quickly, that's the platform I like to use. And it doesn't have to be anything that you have to think through too much. Just make sure that you think about it in ways of talking to a customer, talking to who you serve, and how you would concisely tell them exactly what you do, what you have to offer. And if you translate that well onto a website, no matter if it's just through text or through images, it's going to be a good website.
Well, Michael, thank you so much again for donating your time and talent to help Tudor House be able to enhance their brand and to make their services more available to the community, which is really in need of them. So thanks so much, and look forward to talking with you next time.
Yes, sir. Yeah, thank you to Buzz for Good, and thank you to the Tudor House for the opportunity to do this. This was a great project, and I loved working on it with you and Kathleen. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Now, speaking of websites, I would invite you to go to Buzz for Good's website to learn more about all the work that we do to help nonprofits in Southwest Virginia. That's Buzz, BUZZ, 4, good.com, as well as on our social media, Buzz for Good, and that's on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. One more time, mark your calendars for April 13th, and that's when we will be presenting our episode on Virginia Children's Theater and Tudor House on Blue Ridge PBS and our watch party at the Grandin Theater. But I also want you to mark your calendar for a 1 week later, April the 20th, and that is Give Roanoke. Give Roanoke is the brainchild of the Council of Community Services, which has been in existence for 60 years here in Roanoke, doing a variety of just really vital work in our community, especially for those who are homeless and those who have critical needs. And here I want to play a conversations that I had with Anne Marie Green, the executive director, and Allison Jorgensen, who has been at the Council of Community Services for 20 some odd years. And together, they are putting on Give Roanoke Day, which is going to be a day of philanthropy and giving, 24 hours that will be supporting more than 70 different nonprofits that are participating in the day. So I'm going to play that conversation that I had with them. It was a few months ago, so there may be some dated references here. Just a wonderful organization. I look forward to sharing more about them with you here.
My name is Anne Marie Green. I'm the president of the Council of Community Services. The council was started in 1960. It was founded then by a gentleman named Franklin Huff, who was the leader of the Baptist Children's Home in Salem. And he felt that the Roanoke Valley needed to have an organization that could bring together stakeholders to identify specific problems here in the Valley and to create the solutions to those problems. And he gathered a lot of people from the community. We still have the original memo he sent out to leaders in the Roanoke Valley. One of them was his friend in Salem, Cabell Brand, and other people joined with him to form the council. It's probably because of Cabell Brand's involvement in it that one of the first organizations and one of the first problems they looked at was poverty in the Roanoke Valley. And one of the first organizations that was spun out of the council was TAP, which has been around almost as long as we have. Well, over the years, the council has looked at other issues, aging, and the organization that was created, spun off of ours, was the League of Older Americans, LOA. Transportation for older people and people with disabilities, and so we spun off Radar, which is still here in the Valley providing services.
Allison Jorgensen, Vice President of Planning with the Council of Community Services. So the Council of Community Services started in 1960. It was formed by a group of community leaders who really came together and said that they'd like to find a way to meet some of these unmet needs in the community. So figuring out programs and ways to address transportation, housing, health, whatever issues were out and not being addressed by the community. So through the years, we've started multiple programs which have remained in-house. Some have spun out to other organizations or started their own 501c3s. TAP was actually started here at the Council of Community Services. Radar, the Botetourt Resource Center, just to name one of the most recent ones. So we've done a lot to build capacity in terms of internal and then external to the organization.
Did you have a personal connection to the council?
Before I started working here, I was already aware of some of the things that the council did, although certainly not the breadth of what the council did. I came here a long time ago when my daughter was born, looking for a list of babysitters, because at the time they provided lists of daycare providers in the Valley that you could connect to. More recently, I am a member of a dog club, and we needed a strategic plan. And one of the things this organization also does is strategic planning for other nonprofits. So they created a plan for our dog club, which really was wonderful. It was a great process, and as I said, we do that for lots of nonprofits here in the Valley.
So number one is the drop-in center, which focuses on HIV, HCV, just basic health and services for individuals affected with those conditions, and education to prevent infection. The second is the Community Housing Resource Center, which focuses on housing individuals who have recently become homeless or are at risk of losing their homes. They work with all of the housing and homeless service providers throughout the community to do that. Third is Information and Referral, which is our 211 Virginia program. It serves the entire state of Virginia and provides information and connection to resources on a multitude of things. And then fourth is our planning and capacity building services, which encompass Nonprofit Roanoke and Hands on Blue Ridge, which is the volunteer center for the Roanoke Valley. So right now we are working to house COVID-positive homeless individuals throughout the Valley. So what's happening is if they can't get into shelter, they were living on the street before for various reasons, but have become COVID-positive, we're sheltering them in a local hotel. That means that local partners have been referring COVID-positive individuals to us, as well as both local hospitals. So that has been going on since September. We are absolutely feeling the uptick with the Omicron variant. So we've had quite a few individuals, and these are the most chronic homeless individuals. They have the most challenging problems. They have mental issues, they have cognitive issues, so definitely a challenge to work with them and have them understand why they're being quarantined and what that means.
You guys just do everything.
We do. When I think of the Council of Community Services, we are an organization that continues to rise to the challenge. We have wonderful partners, and we work with them every day throughout the Valley, but we have always been able to sort of come to the table with a solution or with a willingness to work towards a solution, and that's really special to me.
For one thing, we operate 211 for the state of Virginia. That's an information and referral service, and we provide that service for the entire state. That funding comes from the Virginia Department of Social Services. The 211 is mandated by the state code, and so they pay for that. Another one of our services is the drop-in center. We provide Hep C and HIV testing. We provide harm reduction services. We provide connection to care. We help with other harm reduction products, and we also go out into the jails and help with people that are getting ready to come out of jail and have tested positive for HIV. The vast majority of that funding comes from the state of Virginia Department of Health. Some of it comes from the federal government through what's called Ryan White grants. The other parts of the organization, we have the Community Housing Resource Center, and through that center we provide rapid rehousing and try to prevent homelessness. Most of that funding is through block grants from HUD. They can be directly from HUD or they can be through the city of Roanoke. As part of that organization, we also staff what's called the Continuum of Care, which HUD requires that all homeless agencies be part of a COC and have a homeless information management system, which we here at the council, we have that system and we staff it and get all of our partner homeless service providers using that and coordinating that. I also serve on BRIC, which is the organization that oversees the COC and addresses homeless issues throughout the Roanoke Valley. The other funding that we get for things like strategic planning, we get some funding from local governments, we get some donations, we get actual payments sometimes from nonprofits for the services. That's just a variety of different ways that we provide that service.
Sounds like y'all do everything.
We do. Or we can refer you to where you can get something done through 211.
So the Council of Community Services did start the Community Foundation, which is now the Community Foundation Serving Western Virginia, many years ago, just as a need. There needed to be a community foundation to help collect these funds and donations and make sure they're put out to the community in an efficient way.
So let's talk about Give Roanoke.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of tell a little bit of the history of Roanoke Valley Gives Day and how you came to be part of this event.
Roanoke Valley Gives has been provided by the Community Foundation for the last several years and has been incredibly successful. They did a really good job with it, and many nonprofits, that was their real focus for the whole year, as a way to make money, all coordinated, one message, one logo, and it's been really great. The Community Foundation, this year, the person that has been doing that for them left her position and went to another nonprofit in the Valley. And I think that gave them an opportunity to reevaluate what they were doing, if that really was what their focus was. It's my understanding that they have acquired another foundation somewhere. I think it might be Martinsville. And so they're focusing back on their original mission. And so we approached them and asked if they would help us do this. Other nonprofits also contacted us and asked us if we would be interested in helping them do this. So the Community Foundation was very gracious. They met with us. We talked it through. The giving platform, GiveGab, was also very gracious and generous and has offered to give us that platform this year for free. So that meant that we were willing to give it a try. It is going to be scaled back. It will not be nearly as big as it was with the Community Foundation, but we have involved other nonprofits as our partners on a team, and they are going to help us put this on. And so that's a nice part of it, is to get them part of the organizational process and bringing this up and running. We're calling it Give Roanoke because we're taking it over. It's new, it's different. We're hoping that we'll still get the same donors, obviously, that we always had, but it needed to be. It was time for it to be reframed a little bit, so that it wasn't identified just with the Community Foundation and was identified now, hopefully, with all the nonprofits in the area.
Well, the council has been involved with Roanoke Valley Gives Day since its inception with the Community Foundation, and we have had several successful campaigns, not as large as some, but we're quite proud of them. When the Community Foundation put out an announcement that they were unable or are not going to continue this Give Day in our community, we felt it internally and didn't really think much about it. It was going to be something, we would overcome, figure out. But then some of our partner organizations started reaching out and asking, would the council be willing to fill that role? And it was an opportunity for us to have a conversation internally and with our board to see if that was a fit for the organization and somewhere we wanted to go. Ultimately, we decided that the value of a day of giving in the Roanoke Valley is so important, and we didn't want organizations our size, smaller or larger, to miss out on incorporating new donors into their campaigns and new dollars.
So what steps have you taken so far to make this happen?
So the Give Day planning for this year has come on pretty quickly. We've taken several steps to make sure this happens. We are using the same platform as the Community Foundation used, which is wonderful, and that platform is GiveGab. They've been really lovely to work with, and on such a tight time frame as well. So we have a planning group of local nonprofits that have stepped up to help us make sure that this day is successful. We're just working on those finishing touches on the website and sort of the details behind the scenes before we're ready to put it out to the community.
Do you already have your branding in place?
We do. We have a new logo. We have a new name. We have a new date. It is Give Roanoke. Give stands for Grow, Invest, Volunteer, and Empower. It's going to be on April 20th this year. The website is giveroanoke.org, and all of the details are on there. As many organizations as we can have are welcome as long as they serve the Roanoke Valley and meet the very limited criteria. We're excited.
And from our biggest concern or challenge?
It is new. It's not with the Community Foundation anymore, and that's our biggest challenge, I think, this year, is they did such a tremendous job marketing the day and had such successful campaigns. We just want to make sure that we continue to put it out in front of the community, make sure that media are aware, make sure that just the general public is aware. This is our giving day. It's still happening. It looks and feels a little different this year, but it's still a day that everyone in the Valley can give to their favorite or multiple favorite nonprofits.
Ironically, I think one reason we were so interested in doing it is that last year was our best year ever, because we had created a marketing and development committee and we had our board members involved, and we had a great time doing it. We really involved our entire staff. Our whole staff was divided into teams, and there was some friendly competition, and one of our board members did a little video, and we had so much fun. And then when we found out that the Community Foundation didn't want to do it this year, we were kind of bummed about it, because we said, but we really enjoyed it. So that's what we're looking forward to, is being able to kind of keep that experience going and making it fun. It shouldn't be something that's difficult for organizations to do. So I just think it's going to be a really positive experience. And ironically, a lot of the nonprofits that are involved are smaller nonprofits, and they have told us that they're not that interested in some of those prizes and incentives because it was too hard for them to get that much money to qualify for those. So they said it was a relief not to have to worry about some of that. So yeah, that'll make it easier and more fun.
There are many, lots of defining moments for me that really summarize what the Council of Community Services is as a whole. And I think right now it is housing these COVID-positive homeless individuals. They really have nowhere else to go. They don't have friends or family to take them in and care for them. Some of them have been extremely sick. So we've been able to meet their needs and help them get back to where they need to be, if that's in shelter or finding family members to take care of them. And that really summarizes what this organization does. We use our resources and connect people that is a best fit situation for them.
So one more time, Give Roanoke Day, April 20. Mark it on your calendars. And with that, that is going to do it for today's show. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to Buzz for Good, learning more about the nonprofits that keep our communities better connected, as well as the marketing agencies who are donating their time and talent to help these nonprofits attract more donors, volunteers, and clients to their cause, basically to give them more buzz. And I encourage all of us who are listening in today to be a better Buzz for Good in our communities, and we will see you back next Saturday here on Buzz for Good.